The Chicago White Sox won again last night and are no longer in dead last in all of baseball. Let's talk about maybe this team will not be historically bad next on Locked On White Sox.
You are Locked On White Sox, your daily Chicago White Sox podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
And hello, I'm your host, Todd Welter, a lifelong White Sox fan and the site expert of Southside Showdown, part of the Fansided Network. You can check out my written content at southsideshowdown.com. Also, I've covered Major League Baseball for outlets such as the Associated Press back in the day. And the White Sox won their second straight game last night with a 3-2 victory over the Cleveland Guardians. And the Sox now have 10 wins on the season. Only took 38 games, but the Sox now have double-digit victories. And now you can say they are tied for the worst record in franchise history to start a season. The 2018 White Sox had the same record after 38 games at 10-28. So maybe the Sox are not trending towards being the 62 Mets. And I'll talk about where the Sox now stack up with those other historically bad teams. Then let's dive into the 3-2 win and go over who was good and talk about the hero of the game, Jordan Leasure. And finally, I'll wrap up with this week's what is it you say you do here in terms of who is that player. And thanks for making Locked On White Sox your first to listen every day. We are free and available wherever you get your podcasts and on YouTube, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. And make sure to subscribe to the YouTube channel at Locked On White Sox. Smash that like button. Also follow or subscribe to the show on wherever you get your podcasts. And hey, leave a 5-star review. It'd be greatly appreciated. So again, the Sox finally joined the double-digit win club. It also means only the Colorado Rockies are the only team left in the majors with single-digit wins. And hey, the Sox now have more wins than they've been shut out this season. Yep, the Sox have been shut out 9 times. 9 times. At least now they have 10 victories. But that is how bad things have gotten for the White Sox. They have one more win than they've been shut out. Although they're playing a little bit better baseball. Although maybe it's the Tommy Pham effect. Sox are 7-5 with him in the lineup since he joined the club on April 26. Remember, the White Sox had 3 wins at one point this season. That was before Tommy Pham got here. So, coincidence? I think not. But as discussed on previous episodes, the Sox start was so bad that there was talk that they would be historically bad. Like maybe they're not going to threaten the 1899 Cleveland Spiders. They went 20-134, but they could be possibly as bad as the 62 Mets who went 40-120. You might be like, Todd, I want you to talk about the White Sox win, and we're going to get there. But we need to put some perspective maybe and see just are the White Sox going to be this terrible as what, everybody was talking about to start the year. And yes, when you get off to a start where you just win 3 games, I mean, at one point, it was looking very, very bad. But maybe there's some hope. Although you might be like, please don't give me hope. As you can tell, I like to quote movies. It's one of my rare useless talents. But they were definitely trending towards being in the company of the 88 Baltimore Orioles and the 2003 Detroit Tigers. And, we got to ask, I mean, are the Sox still on that pace to be historically bad? So let's compare where the 62 Mets were at after 38 games, the 88 Orioles, the 03 Tigers, last year's Oakland A's, and the 2018 White Sox. So actually, the Sox are 2 games behind the 62 Mets at this point. New York was 12-26 after 38 games. That happened on May 27th. Got to remember the season started later, back in the 60s. The Mets were also in the middle of a 17-game losing streak. So the White Sox have been able to keep their losing streaks to under single digits. So you got that going for them, which is nice. But May was the best month for the Amazons that year, as they finished it with a 9-17 record. So, or 9-17 May. So one of the things that the Sox need to do to avoid being historically bad is make sure that May isn't their best month. And in terms of just perspective, though, the Sox have topped the 62 Mets in terms of getting shut out. The 62 Mets were only shut out six times that year. But the longest win streak was just 3 games. So they really only had a win streak one time. Sox have already done that. Hopefully they have another one. And 64 games where they blew a lead. The 88 Orioles finished 54 and 107. They got off to obviously one of the worst starts in league history as they went 0-21. And ironically, they snapped that 21-game losing streak against the White Sox. The Orioles were 6-32 after 38 games. That's also a season in which they fired their manager to replace him with Frank Robinson. I think it was Cal Ripken Sr. who they fired after just 6 games. Just saying, would have been maybe nice if you got rid of Pedro Grifol. The Orioles were shut out 14 times that season, and their longest win streak was 4. The 03 Tigers went 43 and 119. They were 9-29 after 38 games. May was their best month with an 11-18 record. They were shut out 17 times that season. So, hey, White Sox offense has something to shoot for. Their longest win streak was 4. Longest losing streak was 11. Last year's Oakland A's went 50 and 112. They were 8-30 after 38 games. They were shut out 16 times last season. Longest win streak, though, was 7. Longest losing streak, 11. And again, that forgotten 2018 White Sox season. In terms of, like, what was their win streak? The longest was 4. Longest losing streak was 8. And they were shut out 12 times. So obviously the Sox are still on track for a bad season. And they're definitely on track to maybe top those teams in terms of getting shut out. But as you see, the one thing that they got to do is just to avoid being historically bad is just avoid a huge losing streak. But right now, in terms of the pace, they might get some wins because, again, even though they're not getting enough wins, and I keep hammering them for that, the Sox are playing veteran players who are at least maybe helping them win. But those guys are going to be traded at the deadline, hopefully. Tommy Pham, Michael Kopech, Erick Fedde, Eloy, Chris Flexen keeps pitching at the rate he is. You should probably try to get something for John Breba. So that means you're going to, and I want to see younger players, but it could also mean less wins later in the summer. So, could the White Sox be historically bad? There is still a very good possibility of that, especially if they trade away veteran players. But on the flip side, if they do trade away veteran players, maybe you can stomach them being, terribly bad if guys like Nick Nastrini, Jonathan Cannon, Colson Montgomery, Bryan Ramos get significant playing time and show promise. Hopefully Drew Thorpe is up at some point. And maybe those guys come up, because Bryan Ramos, he's on a tear. Maybe they come up and they actually help get the White Sox get some wins. And hey, speaking of win, the White Sox got one. So let's discuss some of the details next on Locked On White Sox. So at Stitch Fix, you get a stylist who understands your style, size, and budget. They do all the shopping for you. It's the easiest way to update your wardrobe this season. And being someone who still thinks cargo shorts should still be in style, I think I need to up my game and hand over my wardrobe to Stitch Fix. Try saying that fast 3 times. Easily upgrade your wardrobe this year with a professional stylist that helps you find new on-trend favorites that will work for you. Stitch Fix makes it all so easy. And I don't like to shop, and I like easy, and that means Stitch Fix can save me that time and effort. Plus, I can get outfits that make me look and feel really good. Maybe I'll update my wardrobe beyond cargo shorts. And if you don't love something, you can just send it back. Shipping, returns, and exchanges are always free. So, style that makes you feel good as you look. Get started today at stitchfix.com/MLB and get $20 off your first fix. That's stitchfix.com/MLB for $20 off. Stitchfix.com/MLB. Must redeem within 7 days of sign up. Whew. And are you watching Fox Sports or ESPN on your TV all day? Have to turn down the volume with all that shouting? Make the switch to Locked On Sports Today, a free 24/7 sports streaming channel program for you every day to bring you the biggest stories without all that screaming. Locked On Sports Today brings you can't miss analysis, opinions, and news, streaming 24/7 on YouTube or the free Amazon Fire TV channels app, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. And hey, the White Sox host the Cleveland Guardians tonight at 6:40 p.m. Central. The Sox hope to win their 3rd game in a row. Catch every pitch of the White Sox hometown broadcast with SiriusXM on the SXM app. Search White Sox. And welcome back into Locked On White Sox. I'm your host, Todd Welter, and thank you for making the show your first listen. Make sure to subscribe to the YouTube channel at Locked On White Sox. Smash the like button. Also, follow or subscribe to the show on wherever you get your podcasts and leave a 5-star review. So, Erick Fedde, he was outstanding on the mound last night. 6+ scoreless innings as he allowed just 6 hits and struck out 3. I don't know what it is today with me and, anything that ends in X or ch. I don't know what it is. Maybe, hold on. Let me try some coffee here. Oh, that coffee tastes so good after the White Sox win. Goes down smooth. Anyways, again, just 6 hits. Just 6 hits. Bumblebee. And they struck out 3. And he struck out 3. So, skyrocket that trade value. Fedde exited the game in the 7th with no outs and bases loaded. Jordan Leasure, though, saved Fedde's ERA, as Fedde acknowledged after the game. He got 2 strikeouts and a ground out to end the threat. And again, what a blessing Jordan Leasure has been for the White Sox. And another example of how you should build your bullpen. Young arms with velocity on cheap, controllable contracts. He's definitely part of the future. And, even if the Sox, some of these arms just turn out to be bullpen arms, that's a good thing. Like, let's say Jake Eder. I know the Sox gave up Jake Berger to get him. Watched him a little bit yesterday on the Barons broadcast. I know his ERA, at least at one point, was high. He's a big guy, big lefty. Maybe he doesn't become a starter, but guess what? He could still maybe provide you some value out of the pen. And it won't be expensive. Because remember, the White Sox have limited self-imposed financial resources. Thanks, Jerry. Well, the White Sox got all their offense in the first 2 innings. Andrew Vaughn crushed a double in the first inning to score Pham. Paul DeYoung then drove in Bryan Ramos in the second with a double. And then Pham brought DeYoung home with an RBI hit in the second. Ball wasn't carrying with the weather. Andrew Vaughn and Ramos both crushed their doubles, but just hit the wall. It did rain. The game started under a rain delay, so ball wasn't really carrying, although it did carry in the 8th inning, as that's when things got very uncomfortable. Jose Ramirez and Josh Naylor, yes, those two guys, hit solo shots off of John Breeba, but Michael Kopech, he came on and got the 4-out save. And Bryan Ramos continues to look like he belongs as a rookie. He finished 2 for 4, second straight multi-hit game. Hey, good idea to bring up a promising prospect and actually have him play. And he keeps pushing that maybe the White Sox should keep him up even after Danny Mendick comes back and keep playing him. You know, I would like to see him obviously continue to play well, continue to give us hope, but I also want to see, what happens when adjustments are made. Can he still continue to hit? And again, there's nothing wrong if you do send him down, but at the same time, from at least like a gate attraction, if he continues to play it this way, setting him down, you take away something that's worth watching on the White Sox. There's not a whole lot worth watching this season, especially if the White Sox eventually trade Erick Fedde or Tommy Pham, who finished 2 for 4. So I think there is some value to seeing what Ramos can do in an extended look. I mean, we know what Danny Mendick can do. And if you want to give Ramos a day off to play Mendick when he comes back, fine. But let's see what Ramos can do with an extended look. Can't hurt. You're 10-28. Also, Eloy Jimenez, he had a good night at the plate after having an awful series in Tampa. He went 2 for 4. So, nice bounce back. Although, I believe it was the third or fourth inning that the Sox should have added a run. He rips a double. And then they put on they try to have him tag up after, I think it was Benintendi who flew out. And Eloy, again, because you don't want Eloy to be running full speed. Because, again, it means he's going to get hurt. But he's still not the fastest guy even when you ask him to run full speed. They had him run, I think it was like a shallow, I tweeted about it on @Locked On Sox. Well, let's see here. One moment. Yeah, Andrew Benintendi. First, they tried to have Benintendi bunt over Eloy. Again, stop bunting. You should only bunt if you are the home team, bottom of the ninth, and you need a run and beyond. So he flies out. Eloy still tried to get to third, easily thrown out. Next at bat, Bryan Ramos crushes a single. Again, dumb baseball. So, hey, even in wins, the White Sox still find ways to look stupid. All right, well, let's get into the player that makes you say this week, what is it you say you do here? Next on Locked On White Sox. Well, life insurance is not always something we like to think about or think we need. Life insurance, though, is an important safety net for your family, but trying to find the right policy on your own can be time-consuming and overwhelming. Well, with Policygenius, you can find life insurance policies that start at just $292 per year for over $1 million of coverage. Some options offer same-day approval and avoid those unnecessary medical exams. And if you don't like shopping for a policy, Policygenius helps you compare your options from top companies, and their teams of licensed experts is on hand to help you talk you through it. Easily compare quotes from America's top insurers in just a few clicks to find your lowest price. Policygenius gives you unbiased advice from a licensed expert support team, and they have no incentive to recommend one insurer over the other, so you can just trust their guidance. And look, I'm a parent, and God forbid something happens to me. I know my wife and daughter do not need to make up for the loss of a second income with the life insurance policy I have. And I used to think my work life insurance policy at my 9-to-5 job was enough. Not true. Your work life insurance policy may not offer enough protection for your family's needs. And even worse, it may not come with you if you leave your job. Check life insurance off your to-do list in no time with Policygenius Head to policygenius.com/lockedonmlb or click the link in the description to get your free life insurance quotes and see how much you could save. That's policygenius.com/lockedonmlb. And I'm going to admit it, things keep getting in the way after I'm done recording the show. I still have not gotten my mother something for Mother's Day. But hey, it's never too late to show mom your love this Mother's Day with DoorDash. I think I'm going to surprise my mom with some flowers, maybe a gadget or two, or some self-care essentials. I know she loves gift cards. My mom really likes to go out to dinner, and I can do that and get that delivered right to her door, just like you can, delivered to your mom's door. Get thoughtful gifts she deserves with the convenience you need. Choose same-day delivery or schedule a week ahead for when flowers and gifts should arrive to her door with DoorDash. I think I'm going to do that. I think I actually am going to do this after I wrap up this show. Order now and get something you need for Mother's Day on DoorDash. Use code LOCKEDONMLB in all caps to get 50% off your next order, up to $15 when you spend $15 or more on your next flower, convenience, grocery, or retail order now on DoorDash. That's Locked On MLB. Order using DoorDash today. Terms apply. And welcome back into Locked On White Sox. I am your host, Todd Welter. And I want to thank you if you've stuck with me through this episode, especially me trying to say stitch fix or anything that ends in st or an X. I don't know what I've just been having issues today saying anything that ends in X or CH. And this concludes your enunciation class. Hope you have a good weekend. Especially if you plan on doing something for Mother's Day. And as you guys know, I'm a big movie fan. I love quoting movies. Already did it in the first segment. And again, one of my favorite movies is Office Space, especially the quote, "What is it you say you do here?" And every Friday I try to, ask that question to a certain player of, "What is it you say you do here?" And this week it's pitcher Michael Soroka. Now it should have been Mike Clevenger, but I've spoken about that questionable person way too much this week. So I'm going with Michael Soroka. And on Tuesday, Soroka lasted just 5 innings against the Tampa Bay Rays. He gave up 4 runs, 3 earned. His ERA is now 6.34 with a 159 whip, 1.59. He has 23 walks this season to just 20 strikeouts. The most innings this starter has pitched this season is 6, and that was his second start of the season. He's supposed to be a starter, and he can't get past 5 innings on most nights. He's putting the bullpen in a bind. Lefties have a 841 OPS against him, righties 849, and he has a 707 ERA at home. At what point does he still deserve to be in the rotation? He is just absolutely taxing this bullpen. And by continually struggling to get through innings, it's just destroyed his trade value. Because he's a free agent after the season. I get why the White Sox traded for him. He had a dominant 2019 season. Injuries basically wiped out his 2021, 2022, and most of his 2023 season. You're in a rebuild. It can't hurt to see he's still young if he can recapture that 2019 form. And if he does, hey, maybe you resign him. Although, again, the Sox don't like to pay pitchers. But at the very least, you could flip him at the deadline. And right now, his trade value is basically non-existent, just like Mike Clevenger's. And it makes you wonder, why are you still giving him the ball every, well, 6 days because the White Sox right now have a 6-man rotation. And I'm fine if the Sox want to go with the 6-man rotation because you are trying to ease Garrett Crochet into the starter role. The guy's a dude. You don't want him to have any more arm issues. But I'd rather go with an opener because that's basically what Michael Soroka is right now. And he's not very effective at being an opener. So at what point do you say, you know what? He's going to the pen. He's going to the pen. Just like, they had no problem sending Chris Flex in there. And things have gotten better for Flex, and his velocity's up. He's been much better since they put him back into the starting rotation. He actually wasn't too bad when they put him in the bullpen. So maybe that's what Michael Soroka needs. But right now, he's not a starting pitcher. He's a guy that you just hope can get through 5 innings. And right now, with such a small margin for error, and you've already overtaxed your bullpen, you need starters that can go 6 or 7 innings. You need like what Erick Fedde did. You need more of that and less of, 4 innings. Thank you, sir. Because at that point, just go with an opener. Well, that wraps up this edition of Locked On White Sox. Before I go, Locked On has launched the first ever national sports 24/7 streaming channel on YouTube. Now it's also available on Amazon Fire TV in the free Fire TV channels app. Locked On Sports Today is here for you 24/7, covering the top sports stories of the day with local experts of Locked On, plus our national shows covering every league. Find Locked On Sports Today now available on the free Fire TV channels app. And the White Sox host the Cleveland Guardians tonight at 6:40 p.m. Central. Sox hope to win their 3rd game in a row. Catch every pitch of the White Sox hometown broadcast with SiriusXM on the SXM app. Search White Sox. Well, I'll be back on Monday. Hopefully, we'll be talking about more wins for the White Sox. And make sure to subscribe to our YouTube page at Locked On White Sox. Smash that like button. Give a 5-star review on wherever you get your podcasts. And let me know your thoughts on today's topics regarding the Sox possibly not being historically bad, last night's win, and Michael Soroka being this week's What Is It You Say You Do Here player. And you can leave them on Twitter at ToddJDub or email me at lockedonwhitesox@gmail.com. Have a great day. See you Monday.